What happens when a beloved music icon sits down for what should be a simple morning chat, only to face relentless attacks on live television? It only took 33 seconds of cutting remarks before one of Britain's most respected performers did something nobody saw coming and walked off set in front of millions of viewers. Cliff Richard arrived at the studio that morning, expecting a friendly conversation. He had been in the business for decades, released countless hits, and brought joy to generations of fans. This was supposed to be a relaxed interview about his latest tour, a chance to connect with viewers over a cup of tea and some pleasant memories. Instead, it became one of the most uncomfortable moments in daytime television history. The set was bright and cheerful, designed to feel like a cozy living room. Lorraine Kelly sat in her usual chair, flanked by her regular panelists, Rachel Thompson and Marcus Williams. They were there to add commentary and ask questions, making the show feel more like a roundtable discussion than a traditional interview. The audience clapped warmly as Cliff walked onto the set, smiling and waving. He wore a smart blazer and looked every bit the professional entertainer he had always been. "Welcome, welcome," Lorraine said, though her tone already carried a strange edge. "So lovely to have you here, Cliff. Do sit down." Cliff settled into his seat, still smiling. "Thank you for having me, Lorraine. It's great to be here." "Is it, though?" Lorraine said, and the smile on her face didn't quite reach her eyes. "I mean, at your age, shouldn't you be thinking about slowing down rather than dragging yourself around on another tour?" The audience went quiet. Rachel and Marcus exchanged glances. Cliff's smile faltered just slightly. "Well, I still love performing," he said carefully. "My fans have been incredibly loyal, and I feel blessed to still be able to do what I love." "Your fans," Lorraine repeated, leaning back in her chair. "You mean the ones who are still alive?" A nervous laugh rippled through the studio. Cliff shifted in his seat. "My fans span all ages, actually," he said, maintaining his composure. "We get young people at the shows, too. Families. All sorts." Rachel Thompson jumped in, clearly trying to steer things in a friendlier direction. "I think it's wonderful that you're still so active, Cliff. What can people expect from the new tour?" "Thank you, Rachel," Cliff said, grateful for the lifeline. "We've got a mix of the classics and some newer material. We're visiting cities all across the country, and I'm really looking forward to it." "Newer material," Lorraine cut in, her voice dripping with skepticism. "Because that's what people are desperate for, isn't it? New songs from someone who had their last real hit when dinosaurs walked the earth?" Marcus Williams looked uncomfortable. "Lorraine, I think that's a bit..." "A bit what?" Lorraine snapped, turning to Marcus. "Honest?" "Someone has to be." Cliff's jaw tightened. "I understand not everyone enjoys my music, Lorraine, but there's no need to be disrespectful." "Disrespectful?" Lorraine laughed, a sharp, brittle sound. "I'm just asking the questions everyone at home is thinking. Why are you still doing this? Is it the money? Can't let go of the spotlight?" "I'm doing this because I enjoy it," Cliff said, his voice firmer now. "Because music has been my life, and I'm fortunate enough to still have an audience who wants to hear me sing." "An audience of pensioners clinging to the past," Lorraine shot back. "I mean, let's be real here. You're a relic, a nostalgia act. Don't you think it's a bit sad?" Rachel looked horrified. "Lorraine, that's completely out of line." "I'm running this show, Rachel, not you," Lorraine said coldly. She turned back to Cliff. "And frankly, I think someone needs to tell you the truth instead of blowing sunshine up your backside." The atmosphere in the studio had turned icy. The audience sat in stunned silence. Cliff's face had gone pale, but he kept his dignity intact. "The truth," he said quietly, "is that I've spent over 60 years in this industry. I've worked hard, treated people with respect, and tried to bring a bit of happiness into the world. I don't need to justify that to you or anyone else." 60 years of the same old songs, Lorraine sneered. How many times can you sing about summer holidays and living dolls before you realize nobody cares anymore? Marcus tried again. This is really unnecessary. Cliff is a legend, and he deserves better than this. Oh, here we go, Lorraine said, rolling her eyes. Everyone's so precious. Can't handle a bit of straight talk. There's a difference between straight talk and cruelty, Cliff said, his voice steady, despite the visible anger in his eyes. I came here today as a guest on your show, expecting a civil conversation. Instead, you've done nothing but mock me and my career. Maybe your career deserves to be mocked, Lorraine said. Maybe it's time someone told you that your time is up, that nobody wants to see an old man prancing around on stage pretending he's still relevant. Rachel stood up. Lorraine, stop! This is wrong. Sit down, Rachel, Lorraine barked, or you can leave too. Cliff took a deep breath. You know what the saddest part of this is? You've made a career out of being warm and friendly, someone people trust and like. But right now, you're showing your true colors, and they're not pretty. How dare you, Lorraine hissed. You come onto my show and insult me? I'm not insulting you, Cliff said. I'm simply pointing out that you've been attacking me from the moment I sat down. I don't know if you're having a bad day, or if this is some kind of ratings ploy, but I won't sit here and be your punching bag. Then leave, Lorraine said, her voice ice cold. If you can't handle a real interview, if you need everyone to fawn over you and pretend you're still important, then get out. This isn't a real interview, Cliff said, standing up. This is you being needlessly cruel for no apparent reason. I've been in this business long enough to know when someone is trying to tear me down for their own amusement. The audience began to murmur. Some people started clapping in support of Cliff. Oh, wonderful, Lorraine said sarcastically. The sympathy applause. How touching. It's not sympathy, Marcus said, also standing now. It's people recognizing that you've crossed a line. Multiple lines, actually. Lorraine turned on Marcus. And what would you know about it? You've been sitting there like a useless lump the entire time. I've been sitting here watching you bully a man who's done nothing wrong, Marcus replied. Someone who came here in good faith. Cliff began removing his microphone. I think I've heard enough. Running away? Lorraine taunted. Can't take the heat. There's no heat here, Cliff said calmly. Just someone who seems to enjoy making others feel small. I don't need to subject myself to that. Rachel moved closer to Cliff. I'm so sorry about this. This isn't what we're about. I know it's not your fault, Rachel, Cliff said kindly. You and Marcus have been nothing but professional. Lorraine stood up, her face flushed with anger. You think you're better than me? You think you can just walk off my show? I think I deserve basic respect, Cliff said. And since you're clearly unwilling to provide that, yes, I'm leaving. Fine, Lorraine spat. Leave. Show everyone what a diva you really are. The only thing I'm showing, Cliff said, his voice still remarkably composed, is that I won't tolerate being treated like dirt. Not by you, not by anyone. Marcus stepped between them. Cliff, let me walk you out. Thank you, Marcus, Cliff said. As they moved toward the edge of the set, Lorraine called after them. This will be all over the news, you know. Everyone will see what a coward you are. Cliff paused and turned back. Let them see. Let them see exactly what happened here. I have nothing to hide. Can you say the same? The question hung in the air like a thunderclap. Lorraine's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. That's what I thought, Cliff said softly. Rachel looked at Lorraine with disappointment written all over her face. I can't believe you did this. He's a knight of the realm, a beloved performer, and you treated him like garbage. Oh, don't start, Lorraine snapped. Someone has to, Rachel said, because what just happened was disgraceful. The audience was buzzing now, people talking among themselves, some still applauding Cliff as he made his way off set. Marcus walked beside him, offering quiet words of support. Back on the set, Lorraine tried to regain control. Well, that was dramatic. Clearly, some people can't handle honest conversation. But her voice wavered. The confidence she'd had earlier was cracking. Rachel sat back down, but didn't look at Lorraine. That wasn't honest conversation. That was an ambush. I don't need your commentary, Rachel. Too bad, Rachel said, because you're going to hear it. What you did was unprofessional and cruel. There was no reason for it. He's fair game, Lorraine insisted. Celebrities don't get special treatment. There's a difference between asking tough questions and personal attacks, Rachel countered. You know that. Or at least, I thought you did. In the wings, Cliff was speaking with a producer, his voice low but audible to those nearby. I've been doing interviews for longer than most people here have been alive, he was saying. I've faced tough questions, critical journalists, all of it. But what just happened in there wasn't journalism. It was bullying, plain and simple. The producer nodded sympathetically. I'm so sorry, Sir Cliff. This shouldn't have happened. No, it shouldn't have, Cliff agreed. But it did. And I hope you'll think carefully about how guests are treated on this show moving forward. Marcus stood nearby, arms crossed. For what it's worth, you handled that with incredible grace. I would have lost my temper. Cliff managed a small smile. What would be the point? Getting angry would only make things worse. Besides, my mother raised me to take the high road. Your mother raised you well, Marcus said. Back on set, the show was attempting to continue, but the energy had completely changed. The remaining segments felt hollow, forced. Lorraine kept glancing at where Cliff had been sitting, as if she couldn't quite believe what had transpired. During a commercial break, Rachel confronted her directly. What was that really about, Lorraine? Because that wasn't you. Or at least, I hope it wasn't. Lorraine's defenses went up immediately. I was doing my job. Your job is to interview people, not eviscerate them, Rachel said. Cliff Richard is a decent man who's never done anything to you. Why would you go after him like that? Maybe I'm tired of treating celebrities like they're special, Lorraine said, but her voice lacked conviction. Then you're in the wrong business, Rachel replied. Because this show is built on making people feel welcome, making them feel valued. What you did today was the opposite of that. The floor manager called out that they were back in 30 seconds. Rachel returned to her seat, but the warmth that usually characterized the show was gone. The remaining minutes limped along awkwardly until the closing credits finally rolled. As soon as the cameras stopped, Lorraine walked off set without a word to anyone. Rachel and Marcus remained in their seats, both looking shell-shocked. I've never seen anything like that, Marcus said quietly. Neither have I, Rachel agreed, and I hope I never do again. Meanwhile, Cliff Richard had left the building, driven away in a car that had been waiting for him. He sat in the back seat, staring out the window at the London streets passing by. His phone was already buzzing with messages from friends and colleagues who had seen what happened. He didn't feel triumphant. He didn't feel vindicated. He just felt tired and a little sad. Sad that someone had chosen to use their platform to tear him down rather than build anything positive. Sad that morning television, which should be a bright spot in people's days, had become so cynical and mean-spirited. But he also felt something else, something stronger than the sadness. He felt proud that he had stood up for himself, that he hadn't simply sat there and taken the abuse. He had maintained his dignity even in the face of such hostility, and that mattered. The driver glanced at him in the rearview mirror. You all right back there, Sir Cliff? I will be, Cliff said. I will be. Back at the studio, word was spreading fast about what had happened. Crew members who had witnessed the exchange were sharing it with those who hadn't. The general consensus was shock and disapproval at how Lorraine had behaved. In her dressing room, Lorraine sat alone, staring at her reflection in the mirror. The adrenaline that had fueled her during the interview was wearing off, replaced by a creeping sense of unease. She told herself she had been right to push back, to ask hard questions, to not coddle a celebrity. But deep down, in a place she didn't want to acknowledge, she knew the truth. She had been out of line. Way out of line. What she had done wasn't tough interviewing. It was personal, vindictive, and completely unjustified. Her phone rang. It was her producer. She let it go to voicemail. Rachel knocked on the door. "Lorraine, can we talk?" "Not now, Rachel. We need to talk about what happened." "I said not now." Rachel's footsteps retreated down the hallway. Lorraine was alone with her thoughts, and they weren't pleasant company. The thing about live television is that you can't take anything back. Once words are spoken, once actions are taken, they exist forever. They get recorded, replayed, analyzed, and remembered. Lorraine had just created a moment that would define her in ways she was only beginning to understand. Cliff Richard, on the other hand, had created a different kind of moment. He had shown grace under pressure, dignity in the face of disrespect, and the strength to walk away from a toxic situation. People who watched would remember not just what was said to him, but how he responded. In the car, Cliff's phone rang. It was his manager. "I saw it," his manager said without preamble. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine," Cliff said. "Honestly, it was unpleasant, but I'm fine." "You handled it perfectly. I'm proud of you." "Thank you," Cliff said. "I just couldn't sit there anymore. Life's too short to let people treat you that way." "Absolutely right," his manager agreed. "And for what it's worth, I think a lot of people are going to respect you even more after seeing how you conducted yourself." Cliff looked out the window again. "I hope so, but more than that, I hope it makes people think about how we treat each other, especially in public forums like that. We should be able to disagree, to ask difficult questions, without resorting to cruelty." "You're a better person than most," his manager said. "I'm just someone who believes in basic decency," Cliff replied. The car pulled up to Cliff's home. He thanked the driver and made his way inside, grateful for the quiet and privacy. He made himself a cup of tea, sat down in his favorite chair, and allowed himself to process everything that had happened. It had been one of the strangest mornings of his life, and he had lived a very full life. But he didn't regret walking off. Some things are more important than maintaining appearances or avoiding conflict. Self-respect is one of them. As the afternoon wore on, Cliff's phone continued to buzz with messages of support. Fellow performers, friends, even people he hadn't spoken to in years were reaching out to tell him they had seen what happened, and they stood with him. It was heartening, a reminder that kindness still existed in the world, even when individual moments suggested otherwise. At the studio, the mood remained somber. The crew went about their business, but there was an undercurrent of discomfort. What they had witnessed had shaken them. Many had worked with Cliff before and knew him to be professional and kind. Seeing him treated so poorly had left a bad taste in everyone's mouth. Lorraine emerged from her dressing room eventually, her public face back in place. But those who knew her well could see the cracks in the facade. She spoke briefly with the producer, assuring them that everything was fine, that it had just been a spirited interview. But nobody was buying it. Not the crew, not the producers, and certainly not Rachel and Marcus, who had seen firsthand how personal and nasty it had gotten. As evening fell, Cliff sat in his garden, enjoying the peace. Birds sang in the trees, and the sky turned beautiful shades of orange and pink. He thought about his long career, all the ups and downs, the triumphs and challenges. This would be just another chapter, another story to tell. But more importantly, it would be a reminder, both to himself and to others, that standing up for yourself matters. That dignity is not negotiable. That how we treat people, especially when cameras are rolling and the world is watching, says everything about who we really are.